But now we have to be a little bit careful, though, with measurement. I had a friend years ago that had a program where he would go into corporations that had truck drivers, and he would teach the drivers how to drive more efficiently. So he got a contract with a major beverage company, one of the largest beverage, probably the largest beverage company in the world. He went in and he trained their drivers on how to increase their miles per gallon. Seems like it makes sense, right? Don't shotgun starts. He showed them all these different techniques. And what they did is they put a leaderboard in the break room where every week they had the miles per gallon, and they would just put all the guys on the leaderboard, right? So this became, you can imagine these kind of guys, this was highly competitive, right? Everybody was trying to eke out the last little bit. So for the first 3 weeks, one of the guys was always at the bottom of the list. Every single week he was last place, until 1 week he wasn't, and he went to first place. And the next week he was first place, and the next week he was first place. And finally management called him in and said, hey man, you need to tell us how you did this. And they said, under the pressure of them asking questions, he broke down and admitted that he had been putting his own personal money into fuel and buying fuel and putting it in the vehicle, right? They figured it was about 1/3 of his paycheck a week he was putting into the vehicle.
And other guys do that?
Yeah, right, yeah. But and at first there was conversation about should he be terminated, he lied, he's trying to manipulate numbers and all this stuff, and then they really got down to the whys, and they said, well, why?
Free gas. Yeah.
Right. Why would he do this? Well, the reason he did it is because the other guys were giving him a hard time, right? And he didn't want to be last place. He wanted to increase his performance. So when they started asking questions, they found out where all these other guys drove all around town. He was downtown. His truck idled all day long. He might only move a half a block before the next delivery and a half a block for the next delivery. So of course his miles per gallon was going to be higher than everybody else. So they went back and they did what I said here, which is what's the history of that vehicle, right? And then they graded on a curve and said, okay, wait, you've been averaging 13 miles to the gallon. Let's use that as your baseline. He averages 20 miles a gallon. Let's use that as his baseline. Does that make sense? So you can use that as a weapon, right? But the interesting thing that I learned from that is here's a guy who literally is willing to give up 1/3 of his salary. Just, there's no financial reward whatsoever to be on that leaderboard. Nothing. But just the fact of winning was enough to give up 1/3 of his salary. So maybe you can cut everybody's salaries by 1/3.
Or to not be embarrassed.
Or to not be embarrassed, right? And some of that is it, right? Accountability, measurement, all of this stuff really is about being noticed inside the organization and getting recognition. And when that recognition is a negative recognition like that, people do tend to do some really crazy things.